Just what does it mean to come back here and be able to play or just as an opponent tonight?
Yeah, AZ was good to me, but I'm way happier where I'm at now. It was good to see people. It was fun to play in front of some fans, but for me, I'm way happier in Indiana.
The Indiana Fever's road trip recently came to an abrupt end as they lost to Phoenix 95-60. Dana Bonner trash-talked throughout the post-game news conference, and there were two more terrible injuries. Sophie Cunningham, however, had the final say. This film explains exactly what went wrong in Phoenix, Sophie's heroic attempts to motivate the squad to win, and, above all, her shocking podcast comments in which she finally disclosed the truth about how Dana Bonner actually gave up on the Fever. You won't believe what she said about saying goodbye and being professional. Please leave a spicy comment if you agree with Sophie. Sophie.
That had to have been one of, if not the most embarrassing loss of the season for the Indiana Fever so far. We lost to the Atlanta Dream earlier in the season, 77-58. We lost to the Valkyrie earlier in the season, 80-61. And tonight, against the Phoenix Mercury, we lose 95-60.
If the Fever was unable to reach water after falling from a boat during the first quarter, you knew something was off. Before most fans had finished their popcorn, Phoenix was already pulling away, passes were being pulled off, and shots weren't falling. This was more than a sluggish beginning. This whole offensive breakdown was taking place in real time. The grim tale that every Fever supporter wants they could forget is revealed by the figures. Indiana went a pitiful 7 of 30 from three-point range and shot a pitiful 34.3% from the field. Phoenix scored 42 points on a silver platter thanks to 22 turnovers. You're having major problems when you're allowing the opposition to score more points off turnovers than you're scoring from outside the arc.
Does this team practice? What I saw tonight looked like what I saw a month ago. Looked what I saw 3 weeks ago. Absolutely no offensive game plan. I thought this motion offense is when it's nobody's night in and night out. Everybody's allowed to have a night. If Kelsey Mitchell doesn't play well, it needs miraculous efforts from the rest of the team to pick this up. Sophie Cunningham played great tonight. Kelsey Mitchell had a bad game. Bad game. Where's everybody else?
Everyone was holding their breath when Sydney Cousin had a non-cont knee injury, but that was the true gut hit. Arie McDonald then began to hobble around due to foot issues. Moreover, Sutta when Sydney Cousin had a non-cont knee injury, everyone was holding their breath, but that was the real gut punch. Then, because of foot problems, Arie McDonald started to limp around. And then, the Fever's already thin rotation got even thinner. Watching two key players suffer injuries in a lopsided defeat was like being hit while you're already down. The already thin rotation of the Fever just became thinner. It was like getting hit while you're already down to watch two important players get wounded in a lopsided loss.
Steph, obviously, Sid had that injury and Arie left, I think, in the fourth quarter.
Yes.
What's the status of?
Well, it's Sid's left knee, Arie's right foot, and we'll get some more evaluation when we get home tomorrow and see where we are.
Phoenix dominated this basketball contest in every way. They defeated Indiana 44-32 and gave the impression that the Fever was totally over on both ends of the court. Indiana was still learning checkers, and every possession seemed like the Mercury were playing chess. Phoenix's defensive push caused confusion from which the Fever never fully recovered.
Sophie Cunningham making her return to Phoenix, and it seems as if nobody on our team other than Sophie Cunningham felt any type of emotional connection to this game. Dana Bonner just got done doing your team absolutely dirty. You guys escape with a victory when they come to Indiana, and you wipe your hands of it like it's all over and finished with. No, it goes both ways. You don't think we want to beat her on her home court? You don't think we want to get a W for Sophie Cunningham, making her return to the team that she spent her whole entire career with up until this point?
The only player from the Fever who actually showed up prepared to compete was Sophie Cunningham. As she watched her colleagues struggle to find any offensive rhythm, she scored 18 points on efficient shooting. Sophie was doing all in her power to prevent this game from getting any more embarrassing, but she couldn't defeat a whole team by herself.
Sably, tough shot. Wasn't square, and here comes Indiana. Cunningham, another three. Oh my goodness, Sophie Cunningham!
This game meant just as much to Sophie Cunningham as it did to the Indiana Fever when DeWanna Bonner made her return. The only difference is nobody on the Indiana Fever had Sophie Cunningham's back this time around. Sophie Cunningham was the only player trying hard. The only player giving effort, play in and play out. The only player getting into it with Alyssa Thomas, getting into it with DeWanna Bonner, getting into it with Kalia Copper, while everybody else just mailed it in. This game was embarrassing, folks.
Anyone wearing Fever colors felt depressed by the mood inside the arena. As their squad slipped farther and farther behind, you could see the annoyance on the faces of the spectators. Seeing the Mercury celebrate each made shot and defensive stop as though they were winning Game 7 of the finals added to the agony of this defeat. The Fever's unfortunate rim outs weren't the only result of a poor shooting night. This comprehensive system breakdown demonstrated just how vulnerable Indiana is when injuries start to mount. The post-game press conferences were where the real drama was beginning. After embarrassing herself, Dana Bonner was unable to control her self-former group. Additionally, her post-game remarks made it clear why the Fever would be better off without her. She made sure that everyone in the crowd was aware of her 23-point basket, discussing how she found her edge and how this comeback felt so emotionally charged, like she had just climbed Mount Everest.
You see that? DeWanna Bonner hit her first 3-point shot in about 6 months and runs down the floor after losing her starting spot to Lexi Hull. Runs down the floor and calls Lexi Hull a bomb to her face. DeWanna Bonner is out here calling Lexi Hull a bomb to her face.
During his post-game interview, Coach Nate Tibbetts was unable to stop complimenting Bonner's fire. He discussed how, particularly for this game against Indiana, her seasoned experience had rekindled her competitive fire. You would believe that, based on his description, Bonner had been putting months of effort into this one game. Phoenix handled this entire game more like a personal matter than a game of professional basketball. Among all the trash talk and theatrical celebrations, Bonner was squarely in the center. There was extra staring for every shot that was made. With each defensive stop, more time was spent jawing with the Fever bench.
No, it was, yeah, I don't know, emotions are kind of high. Honestly, it's just been a journey to get back to just being happy playing basketball again. Yeah, I'm just, the joy, trying to find that. For a minute, basketball was kind of like off the radar for me a little bit. I didn't know if I loved it anymore, like I had a long conversation with Alyssa, so just to feel that again, feel that energy, feel this from that building was just amazing, and I feel like it was a game that I needed to, remind me like I love this.
Bonner's performance seemed more like someone frantically attempting to make a point to those who had already moved on with their lives than it did like genuine basketball brilliance. While Sydney Colson's knee issue was causing the Fever to worry, she was adding extra mustard to every celebration. When comparing the two locker room interviews, the difference was glaring. While Bonner and the Mercury were essentially dancing to triumph over defeating an undermanned team without important players, the Fever spoke about unity and perseverance in the face of adversity. Despite her 23 points, Bonner's demeanor after the game made it clear to everyone why she never fit with Indiana's team first. Culture. However, Sophie Cunningham was going to reveal some shocking facts that would completely change the picture. Did you notice that they were...
Look at Bonner. And Cunningham's kind of got that innocent who me grin going, and nobody's buying it.
Wow, what a steal by Bonner, stepping right into it. And Sophie knows that doesn't want to create anything more. A little holding on. You think this is becoming a rivalry?
Oh, they're letting her have it now. They gave Cunningham a big ovation before.
You could upset that our fan following was jeering at DB when she returned to perform for us? Contrary to some of you, I don't think it's okay to jeer at previous players.
Sucks, right? You don't ever want to see anyone be injured on any team. I feel like there's been a lot of injuries this year in the W, harsh ones, I think. And it's just another one. And Sid is still the heartbeat of our team. She's going to be okay. Our team's going to be okay. And again, it's just another hurdle that we're going to have to get over.
Unless they have departed, __. On her podcast, Sophie Cunningham finally revealed the truth of Dana Bonner's actual fever death, which was worse than anyone had anticipated. Sophie began by admitting that, despite being a Hall of Fame athlete, Bonner was truly unhappy while she was living in Indiana. But then she revealed the shocking information that completely altered the situation regarding how we ought to interpret Bonner's departure. I like Deep because, when we got together here in Indiana, Deb was one of my vets from Phoenix, so it was rather unexpected that she was signed to Indiana nevertheless. Therefore, we will...
Did you see that when DB came back and played for us, that they got mad that our fan base was booing her?
I don't believe in booing former players unless they left on like some F you type shit.
Accept her as if she were a Hall of Famer. She plays basketball really well, able to score from any position on the court. Sophie claims that when Bonner made the decision to quit the squad in the middle of the season, she never even texted her teammates. Take a moment to consider that. You train together, go on trips together, and develop bonds with your teammates for months before you simply vanish without bidding farewell. However, when she arrived in Indiana, she was genuinely unhappy. Additionally, I want everyone to be content. I'm kind of neutral on this one because of this, which surprises a lot of people. She deserves her flower because she is nearing the conclusion of her career. She is worthy of happiness. However, I also believe that you should anticipate getting bit if you decide to leave. For example, was there a reason why it occurred? No. Not in private, either. Yes. Well, that's difficult. Indeed. All right. I did say what I meant to say, and that is, understand her, unless you leave.
I like DB because like DB was one of my vets when I was in Phoenix, and then we gathered here into Indiana, and like it was kind of a surprise that she was signed to Indiana anyway, and so we'll take her in a heartbeat. Like she's a Hall of Famer, she's a hell of a basketball player, can score from anywhere on the court.
On some her. Thus, indeed, Sophie made it apparent that this had nothing to do with strategic disagreements or basketball disputes. In her podcast, Sophie clarified that all of the unpleasantness and drama that followed Bonner's departure from Indianapolis could have been avoided with a simple farewell message. The squad received radio silence from someone they believed to be an experienced leader in place of professional civility. According to the podcast disclosure,
but she got to Indiana and she just like really wasn't happy. And like I want people to be happy. So that's why I'm kind of like neutral on this one, which a lot of people are surprised about. She's towards the end of her career, so like she deserves her flowers. She deserves to be happy. But I also think that if you're gonna leave, like you're gonna have to expect getting bit. Like,
was there explanation when it happened? No. Not even privately? Yeah, I mean, okay. That's tough. And yeah, okay. Well, I did say what? Unless you leave on some fuck you type shit, and that's what that is, so.
Yeah.
Simply disappeared without displaying any regard for the connections she had ostensibly made. As if I'm still cheering her on. As if I want her to be content when her career ends. However, I also believe that sending a text message to your teammates and acting professionally are acceptable. Text a message and say something like, hey,
I'm still rooting for her. Like, I want her to end her career and be happy. But I also think that, like, it's okay to be professional about it. And, like, send a text to your teammates. Send a text and be like, hey, like, love you guys. Or you don't even have to say love you guys. Just like, hey, sorry this didn't work out. Good luck. Da-da-da-da. You know what I mean? Like, there's a way to handle that, I think.
Love you guys. Or you can just say, I love you guys. Simply saying, hey, I'm sorry this didn't work out. I wish you luck. Do you understand what I mean? As if there were a way to deal with that. Since Sophie has been bearing the emotional burden of this team while Bonner was off making excuses elsewhere, I believe her remarks regarding leadership and accountability struck a whole new chord. As Sophia discusses what professional etiquette in these circumstances should entail, you can almost
doubt DeWanna Bonner had any idea that how dirty she did her teammates on her way out of Indiana would ever come out to light. But Sophie Cunningham said, hold my beer. I got a podcast. I got this platform. I'm going to speak my mind. I'm not going to toe the company line. I'm not going to protect narratives. I'm not going to follow agendas. I'm going to tell you how it all went down. And DeWanna Bonner disappeared like a ghost.
Almost hear the frustration in her voice. She wasn't acting petty or cruel. She was outlining the fundamentals of teammate respect. Dana Bonner probably didn't realize how unclean she was to her comrades on her way out of Indiana would ever be revealed. But, hold my beer, remarked Sophie Cunningham. I received a podcast. This platform is mine. I will express my opinions. I will not reveal the firm line. I will not defend narratives. Agendas won't be followed by me. I'll explain how everything transpired and how Dana Bonner vanished into thin air. This insight fundamentally changed the perception of Bonner's Phoenix performance, turning it from a redemption tale into what it was. She was too busy playing petty revenge games against her teammates to even bother sending a farewell text. Sophie's candor revealed the true personality difference between someone who overcomes hardship with her team and someone who vanishes when...
Rim it out. Cunningham picks up the board. Here she comes. Sophie steps into the three. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo.
Is loving being in Indianapolis. She loves this team. She's feeling it on these.
Cunningham hesitates. Ball on the deck. Sweet dish inside for Timpson.
When things become challenging. As Dana Bonner celebrated her game of retaliation, the true story was how Sophie Cunningham, Lexi Hull, and the mainstays of the Fever demonstrated what true devotion looks like. Sophie showed the kind of spirit and tenacity that sets championship teams apart with her 18-point performance in a blowout loss. When the game grew out of control, she had the option to mail it in, but she chose to fight until the very last buzzer. Rimman is out. Cunningham takes the board in his hands. She's coming. Sophie enters the trio.
Phoenix doing a nice job on the boards. We talked about that, leading by 10.
Wow.
7-17.
You look at all the stats that you love as Cunningham buries,
Staying hot.
buries another triple.
It's a tough call, and here's going to see the shot by the three-pointer against Copper.
Sabley, tough shot. And here comes Indiana. Cunningham. Oh my goodness, Sophie Cunningham!
Is it wonderful to live in Indianapolis? She adores this group. On these, she's feeling it. Pauses. Drop onto the deck. Timpson has a sweet meal within. Sidney Colson and Ari McDonald's injuries might have provided justification for this squad to disintegrate and begin blaming one another. Rather than pouting about the score, you witness them support one another during timeouts and tend to their injured colleagues. This distinguishes players who are concerned about one another from those who are solely focused on their own stats. Lexi Hull's refusal to back down from Bonner's stared the strength of this youthful hot core in the face of hardship.